Hi, I'm Matt Donnelly.
And I'm Tim Malloy.
And this is the Shoot This Now podcast. Tim, what is the Shoot This Now podcast?
The Shoot This Now podcast is the podcast where we talk about wonderful stories that we think should be put to film so that they can become cinematic treasures. And one of our rules is that it can't be something that's already in production or that is already underway.
And we've already broken it.
And we've already broken it once, and we'll break it again. We can do whatever we GD please.
Exactly.
We want to start off with a small correction, amplification.
What a nice word.
Yeah, I love that word. You know who used that word?
Who?
I actually got that word from Kumail Nanjiani.
Aww.
'Cause he was accepting an award, and he said, men, this is our time to kind of... He didn't say shut the fuck up, but what he was basically saying was...
shut the fuck
he was saying,
up.
like, men, let's shut the fuck up and support and amplify.
Guys, relax.
I thought support and amplify was such a good way of putting it.
Yeah. Even if that was fed to him, it's a beautiful line. Not saying you couldn't come up with that on your own, Kumail, but it sounds like strong messaging.
And that's why Matt and I decided to start our podcast of two guys talking. No, but we're going to try to amplify some stories in this podcast. One of the stories that we talked about previously, a story that we both really loved, was The Living Room from the wonderful Love and Radio podcast.
Yes, and I owe an apology to the lovely Brianna Breen, who I misidentified Diane Weipert, who is the subject of the piece, and a filmmaker and a writer, as the sort of author of this, but it was actually a series of really compelling, provoking, deeply empathetic questions that Brianna asked her. And even more impressively, you maybe hear her voice for context twice in a 40-minute podcast, which is almost impossible to do.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Because God knows, I have to, I'm just a smart monkey, and I just basically have to help everyone along with,
you need to do, when you do an interview, you have to do the 15 minutes of, here's how smart I am.
Exactly, totally. Or it's like, I find new and narcissistic ways to say what I think without saying, here's what I think. You know what I mean?
Where
it's like, don't you feel, or does it occur to you, or...
She didn't do that. She let Diana tell her story and beautifully produced it into, well, just go listen to the episode because it blew our minds. And as much as we're joking about it now, I mean, this thing brought us both to tears.
Oh my God, yeah. So Brianna, you're a genius, and I'm so sorry that we misidentified that. And also to Diane for sharing. That's amazing. You guys we're well suited, incredibly well suited.
You know, there's a piece of interviewing advice that I got once, and I've been going around telling it, and it's try to ask the shortest question possible.
Yeah.
It's just ask the one-sentence question, and I've been telling it to everybody, but I have to stop telling it to people because the person who gave that advice, Charlie Rose.
Oh my God.
So now, whenever I give that advice, people are like, oh, that's great. Where did you hear that?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter where I heard it.
It's like my grandmother always said, the sun rises in the east. It's
Not important.
I don't know when this is going to... Sorry, do you want to move on?
We were going to probably put this out before you go to Sundance.
Yes, I leave tomorrow for Park City. I'm so excited.
And I'm going to go soon after. You're going to go for work. I'm going to go for fun.
You're going to go for play, but hopefully you'll come and see us because The Wrap does, I'm sorry, not to sound competitive, but we do hands down the best portrait and interview studio that Sundance has to offer.
Would you say we slay down that snowy mountain?
We slay in both contexts. We slay with cruelty-free robot dog slay, and we slay like Beyonce in our interviews and our gorgeous, stunning portraits from our creative director, Otto Guerin.
Amen to that.
Amen to that. And I'm pumped. I'm pumped to see a couple of things. I am excited to see Rupert Everett, who is only now making his directorial debut, which seems wrong. That seems weird. Is playing Oscar Wilde in his last days alive.
Oscar Wilde is the most talented motherfucker who has ever lived.
Oh my God! Can you honestly people ask the common trite dinner party question who would you host at a dinner party, living or dead? I want to go in a time machine or in the afterlife to an Oscar Wilde party.
That'd be amazing.
And just orbit that cool flame. And just, can you imagine? One of his salons.
My God.
Also, there's a movie, not to interrupt you, there's a movie I'm dying to see that's sort of I have been discouraged from comparing it to Get Out by its sales agents, who I won't name.
Which quick prediction?
Yes.
Best Picture.
You think so?
Yep.
Steve, I don't know if I can say this. knowledgeable insiders in this building think it's going to be Lady Bird.
Okay.
But we'll see what happens. It's a movie called Tyrell about a young African-American male who's the only guy at a raucous weekend-long birthday celebration of young white men.
Wow.
So it's, in a way, it is sort of like Get Out, that it's like, well, how did you term it?
Well, it's like, it's about being the only African-American in a very white space.
Yeah. And I got to say, their director, Sebastian Silva, who has done, I have to look up his other credits. I know he's done something else that got attention, but
Good
I need to read you, his bio.
Okay.
On the Sundance website, because someone flagged it for me, and I should write this as a story because it's amazing. But here's his bio. And by the way, the typical filmmaker bio is where they went to school, what their credits are, if they had mentors, and if they're married. That's usually the typical bio. Okay. Here's Sebastian's. I'm Sebastian. I'm 38, 6 foot, 175 pounds. I've lived in New York City on and off for 16 years. I write and direct films and paint a bunch, looking for someone my age or not with a kind heart and a sense of humor. I'm sexually very open, but believe monogamy is key during the first few years. Hoping for a long-term relationship, but not opposed to no strings attached. See you on the dance floor. I'm obsessed with him.
I want him
it
to
doesn't
win
specify
an Oscar
sexuality, so maybe I don't know, see what's up.
I want him to win awards and just do that as a speech.
Yes, exactly. Or be like, or he pitches like, how about we ride a tandem bike?
Why not?
Yeah, so I am leaving tomorrow, but there is still time for Shoot This Now, and I have a really good one for you, I think.
I'm excited to hear it. P.S. Maybe this isn't a good thing to put out on the air, but can you help my wife and I get into good parties at Sunday?
Yeah. Actually, because you can probably have. I inevitably RSVP for everything.
Okay.
And never get to go because I'm either in a movie or writing about movies or in the studio. But you know what? I'm a nerd. I love to watch the movies, and that's it.
Second thing definitely shouldn't be in the podcast. What about my wife's cousin and her husband?
I know that's going to be harder.
Nice.
It's going to be harder. But actually, what's funny is because one thing I can get you into that will be a blast. In all of the fallout from Harvey Weinstein, there has been so many more. I can get into Harvey Weinstein's party. No, I'm not saying that this is in any way collateral damage or remotely compares to the destruction he has caused in this industry. But at Sundance every year, he and Bob always threw a viewing party for the NFC Championship game.
Oh my God!
Which is the precursor to the Super Bowl. Am I correct in that?
I guess.
I believe, but they threw it at the Four Seasons in Park City, which is in some chalet, and it was always full of like whales, literally Harvey. And sorry, that's mean. Mean to Harvey Weinstein.
That's like the 70th.
Yeah, it's low hanging fruit, but I don't take notes from you on this podcast, Tim.
Right, that's fine.
Anyway, they threw a splashy party, and no one had stepped up to sort of because it is a great place to do business of the festival against the guise of watch football. So the cute folks at AT&T are throwing a viewing party and a pizza party that I can get you guys into. You're going to Sundance to watch fucking football, and it's hilarious. It's so not what you would do, but I guarantee you'll have fun.
I would need somebody to explain how football works. I'd be such a pest.
You don't go to watch the football, Tim. You go to eat the pizza they bring out to you.
I go to pitch things. I go, well, we have a podcast where we pitch stories, and this is one of them.
Or like, I can just imagine me coming home and then being like, A24 bought this. Oh yeah, I heard that at the pizza party. What else? Like, I can just see you getting all this information, then like not contextualizing it at all.
Well, what is the story this week that you think should be a film?
The story this week is something that I have been obsessed with for years. I sort of dropped it because what's even better about the story is that it's a mystery.
Cool.
And I think what's funny about me, I'll be honest, we had a planned idea for this podcast. Right. And it fell through because our coworker Beatrice Verhoeven is a flake. No. She had a conflict and she was supposed to be on.
We mentioned Beatrice Verhoeven on the podcast twice now.
Yeah.
Previously, she was going to come on and explain what Luxembourg is.
Yes, for Vicky Creeps.
Whether it's a city or a country, we'll still all have to wait to find out.
I know. But it occurred to me that I first heard the story when I was a very young man, read the story when I was a very young man, and it was the day that Versace got shot.
Whoa.
I was at the Jersey Shore where my family went long before the show came out because I'm from Philadelphia, so we summered at the Jersey Shore. And I remember I was obsessed with print magazines, and I always read GQ as a 13 or 14-year-old boy.
Sure.
Because I am a climber.
Sure.
And I remember reading this profile in the magazine that was a formal write-up of a movie production coming out, and that there was a lot riding on it and had huge stars, and I'll get into all of it. And it turns out that it was the entire thing I don't know if this is bad storytelling, so you'll tell me now. The entire thing was a hoax.
Oh.
And not even, what's crazy is I tried to find the story in a print version online later, and all I could find was a forum with 9 other people talking about how they remember seeing the story and are they crazy, because it doesn't exist. They can't find archive copies. But I know whatever month, the day Versace got shot, whatever month and year it was that issue or the preceding issue of GQ. And here's the story.
Do you know, can I tell you something real quick?
Sure, yeah.
I guess it used to be just cool for magazines to do a fake story once in a while.
Yeah.
Because there's also a really good 30 for 30. I know I just explained that I have no sports knowledge whatsoever, but I do love 30 for 30.
Yeah, it's a great storytelling.
There was a story called Unhittable Sid Finch and the Tibetan Fastball that's about this crazy guy named Sid Finch who studied baseball in Tibet or something and could throw 168 mile per hour fastball. Mm-hmm. And then about 10 minutes into 30 for 30, they're like, just kidding. This is just a fake story that Sports Illustrated wrote a long time ago.
Amazing.
For fun. Just for fun.
Amazing.
People just did fun fake stories.
And
sometimes.
actually, GQ did another one that I vividly remember because long before Paris Hilton reigned over pop culture, before she was what she became as a brand, Paris and Nikki Hilton were fixtures in Page Six, which I also read every day. Sure. Can you get a picture of me as a child now?
Yeah.
At 12, 13, 14, I read Page Six every day. And I was sort of obsessed with them before they were mainstream.
Yeah.
And then they became party girls, and I always remember too after 9/11, the second week after 9/11, when people were finally starting to come out of the house again, Paris went out to a nightclub and wore a star-spangled dress, and people read that as a fun thing, as okay, you know what I mean? But do you think it's tasteful or not? That was a moment of maybe we will get through this.
It was the
even
first
Paris,
sign that possibly she likes attention.
Yes, true.
Okay.
Anyway, so after they started getting bigger, GQ wrote a story about two sisters, Dallas and Frenchie Marriott. The Marriott sisters, and it was so realistic that agents in Hollywood started calling and seeing if they can get them on the phone to represent them. Anyway, okay, so you have to hear this because it's just so insane. And by the way, when I tell you, the story was packaged with photography from set.
Wow.
Images, I don't know how they staged all of it. I don't know how they possibly did it. And they also had renderings of posters.
Okay.
And they gave a whole fake ad page to the movie. One of the pages, I don't know. And also, but the thing is, I can't even find it online. So here's what the movie is, and you're just going to die.
Okay.
The profile is about how high risk this production is for the studio and the stars involved, and it was sort of one of those stories where if this doesn't work, it's going on everyone's tombstone.
Okay.
And it was a movie directed by Steven Spielberg called God, and Brad Pitt plays God. Brad Pitt plays God.
And that's good satire because at that point, Brad Pitt had already played Death, right?
Yes, that is. Oh, maybe that's what it was. What year was Meet Joe Black? Can you look it up?
97-ish.
What year did Versace die?
Oh, yeah, totally. Totally.
That might have been a total reverse publicity for Meet Joe Black. Meet
Joe Black came out in the year... Remember on old shows when they would go to the computer and they'd go "What's the answer, computer?" And you'd be like, beep, 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 beep. Meet Joe Black came out in 1998.
Anything else, Timothy?
Also, can I point something out that I learned from listening to past episodes?
What?
We never say each other's names except when you are calling me out on a huge mistake, at which time you use my full name. You go, well, Tim Malloy apparently thinks Meet Joe Black came out in 1948 and starred...
If you listen to this guy named Tim Malloy...
So, anyway, Meet Joe Black, 1998.
And when was Versace killed?
Tim Malloy and the computer called it. And I'm going to say off the top of my head that Versace was killed in 1998 because I remember living in Arizona when all that stuff happened. Actually, no. You know what? I don't think that's right. I think it's about 95.
Let's see.
The Versace murder is a 1998 film.
So it's earlier.
Versace was actually killed. We'll come back to it. You keep talking. I'll find it.
So the film stars Brad Pitt as God, and he has taken human form and come to Earth because the world has devolved or dissolved into war. And the villain of the film is a power-hungry army general played by Tom Hanks.
What?
And then the love interest for God is Elizabeth Shue.
Awesome.
And there are posters where he's stroking her cheek, and it's a. And by the way, you would really be hard pressed to find a more beautiful human, but